Hi, my name is Laura Burgoyne, and I'm excited to be joining together with my sister Connie Blackwood in the NOSA Unleashed podcast. Here, we want to expose the stigma surrounding mental health issues by illuminating and discussing real-life challenges and obstacles, keeping us paralyzed and fearful to move forward. Let us inspire you to believe there's more to life than what you're currently experiencing. You can rise from your despair and find hope for the future. It's time to end the silence, remove the stigma of mental health, and to pursue the path to purpose and fulfillment. We will do this together because no one stands alone. Welcome back to the NOSA Unleashed podcast. I'm Laura Burgoyne, and today Connie and I want to talk together about personal growth. And this topic sometimes, gives you the heebie-jeebies. At least for me, sometimes it's just like, oh, do I really have to grow more? Do I really have to change? A lot of us have gone through a lot and we think, why do I want to keep pursuing growth? But today I'd like to bring this subject matter up because I think it's important. And I think, if we shift how we look at it and how important it is in our life, that you might have a different idea of what it should look like in your life. So welcome, Connie, to this conversation.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Connie, I've been thinking about this topic for a while, and I came across this analogy. Well, it's not an analogy, it's actually real life, but this metaphor for life, and it comes from the bamboo tree. And I don't know if you've heard of this before, but I'm just gonna share a little bit about the bamboo tree. And when we think about personal growth or growth at all, like we can equate that to a seed, right? But when we plant a bamboo seed in the ground, we don't see immediate growth. In fact, a bamboo seed has to actually be watered and fertilized every single day, but you do not see any results from that watering or fertilizing for 5 years. And it's only after 5 years of consistent watering and fertilizing that seed do you actually see growth come out of the ground. And the moment you see growth come out of the ground, it's actually quite incredible. Within 90 days, that bamboo tree actually reaches full maturity, which is up to 90, full maturity, sorry. And they can grow up to 35 inches per day. Isn't that incredible?
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
And so you might be asking yourself, well, why? What's happening? Like, why does it take 5 years for there to be any visible evidence of growth in this plant? And what's happening is that the bamboo tree in those first 5 years are growing an incredible root system under the ground that we can't see. And because of those deep and solid roots, when it does start to bear fruit, it grows exceedingly fast. Like we're talking 3 months. 3 months and it reaches full maturity. And so I felt like this was such a great picture of what growth is for us sometimes, because we feel like we've been pursuing growth. We feel like we've been doing the work. We feel like we've been learning and all these things, but we don't always see the evidence of it in our life. Like I know for myself, some things I've worked on for years. I took courses for, I've been practically implementing things in my life, but I don't see forward momentum. And then it's like all of a sudden in a season, it's just like something takes off in my life and I just have these incredible seasons of growth. And this bamboo tree is such a great metaphor about often how growth is in our lives. We invest a lot of time, we invest a lot of care. And I think the main thing we need to realize is that we don't get discouraged in those times where we're not seeing the outward expression of fruit or the forward growth, because we need that time where we're watering and we're fertilizing and we're tending to that seed that's been planted in us. Because what's the opposite? If we quit, that seed will die, right? And so I think it's important for us to not get discouraged, but to constantly be moving towards those things and be desiring personal growth, because you will see it. If you keep persevering, if you have the patience and the faith and you continue to pursue growth, you will see forward momentum and you will find growth in your life. So, Connie, have you ever heard of the bamboo tree before?
No, today was the first time that I've heard about that. That is a pretty amazing thing. Like I've heard of bamboo, don't get me wrong, but I haven't heard how they grow.
So,
Um,
what thoughts come up for you as I share that?
well, when you were sharing that, I was thinking about how all plants actually have something similar. Like no plants grow during like the winter, right? It's their dormancy season, but yet throughout the winter, it's when their roots tend to grow, and it's when it's that part that you don't see, right? Like it's not like they're not growing, it's just you don't see the evidence of it.
Right.
And I think about my own life, and I think there have been times where I have had a lot of growth, but it hasn't been obvious to me or to anyone else, right? And then all of a sudden, it's like all the pieces fall into place, and I'm like, it's very obvious that all the work that has been done behind the scenes has now come and it's evident, right? And I think I was actually talking to someone about my book yesterday, and I think about all the years that went into coming to a place where I could write that. And
Right.
that to me is my bamboo season, right? All of those steps that took me through that to the place where I had that breakthrough and I could share it, right? And I think all of us have those things in life where we have those bamboo seasons where we just have to keep trudging through. And it may not look all that pretty at the time. It may not look like anything at all, like the bamboo tree, right? There's not even a shoot. There's nothing, you
Yeah.
know? But once you get there, it's a very beautiful thing.
Yeah. One of the posts I actually saw, they also mentioned that with the bamboo tree, you can also plant other seeds in the same place. So, for example, they said you could plant corn or beans in that same place, because as you're watering the bamboo, you can also be watering those other plants. So you could still see some growth in the meantime as you're still watering that other thing that's still growing under the surface, right? So when I
Mhm.
think of my life, even because I've had, pockets of growth and success and different things that have come up. But when I think about it, those were all like little shoots coming out of that same effort, that same growth. But, imagine what was still happening underneath,
Mm.
that's still going to come forth from my life, right? And I think for us just to kind of not see growth or this kind of pursuit to have to be something that bears fruit in all seasons, right? Like you mentioned, Connie, like there's a dormant season. Like I think we need to recognize the seasons that we're in and not take those for granted, because I even think of like just a regular seed, because I plant seedlings every spring, right? For my
Yeah.
garden. And the one thing that I notice the most is that I plant the seed, and then, a week or two later you see some growth, and you water it every day, you take care of it, you tend it, but I never see it grow during the day, right? But then I go to sleep, and then I wake up in the morning, and then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, it's grown an inch. Like, and it does that in the evening. It does that at night when it's in its resting state, right? And so even for us sometimes too, we think, well, I need to be pursuing growth all the time. I need to be working at this all the time. But it's actually in our times of dormancy that we actually are doing the greatest amount of growth, right? And it's not always the growth that we see. And so I think for us to not always feel like we need to be actively pursuing, like, education or, this new thing, like sometimes our biggest times of growth and acceleration happen in our seasons of rest
Mm,
and reflection and slowing down. Um, because then I think we actually give ourselves the capacity instead of our energies being put towards everything else. Because even with those plants, like during the day, they're absorbing light, they're taking in the water and the nutrients, they're like doing all those things, they're absorbing all of those things, but it's in the night when they actually do their greatest amount of growth. And so I think if we can recognize what season we're in and be content in those seasons, that will also help us to, you know, when we come through that winter season, that season of quiet or that season of, even I'm not sure what I'm going to do next, right? And then that spring comes and then all of a sudden like we get this amazing new idea and we're like, "Yes, that's what I'm going to do." And then we realize that everything that we have worked on for the last 5 years was actually a preparation for this very moment that now I'm going to step into this new thing,
mhm,
right? Whereas before we could have been so discouraged that we're in a season where nothing's happening in our life, that we feel like we've almost, you know, died sometimes, right?
mhm. I even think about when we have had hardship, because winter is a hardship for some of these plants, right?
Mhm.
And sometimes when we hit hardship, we think there's no way I grew in that time because it was such a struggle and I was barely able to survive it. And I think it's actually those times when we grow the most, and it's the times that we don't recognize it because
Mhm.
until after the fact, right? Down the road, when we reflect, then we see it, right? But in those moments, we don't feel like we're growing. We don't feel like we're moving forward. We feel like we're barely able to hang on. And yet, I think those are the times that we grow the most because those are the times that we have to sometimes change things about ourselves just to get through it. And we just may not even recognize it at the time.
Yeah.
I think for me, that's when I've seen my biggest times of growth is when it's been really hard.
Mhm.
And I don't say we should like go, hey, God, give me more hard times. But at the same time, I think that's why the Bible says that we're supposed to rejoice in times of suffering because it
Mm.
does do that in us, right? That is those times when we grow the most in our character and who we are and develop ourselves.
Absolutely. Actually, when you were talking, because my husband, Connie, you know this, but the listeners don't. My husband's actually a landscape contractor, right?
Hmm.
And so since meeting him 21 years ago, like I've learned a lot about plants and growth and, harvest and all of these things. But one thing he talks about a lot is pruning, right?
Hmm.
Because you can have a plant that has crossed branches, diseased branches, all of these things, and it doesn't grow very well. But the moment that you come and you take and prune it and you take off every branch that isn't healthy or every branch that is like impeding its success and its growth, all of a sudden, then it literally just takes off, right?
Hmm.
Because a plant instinctively wants to create life, right? So it's going to try to push all of its life to those branches that are dead, right? And so I think how we can relate this to our life is sometimes we have so much going on in our life and some of it isn't bearing fruit. Some of it is actually causing us harm. Some of it is actually, rubbing us the wrong way, right? And it's like sometimes we need to look at what's in our life and say, is there anything I need to prune out of my life? Is there
Mm,
anything I need to let go of in this season or completely remove? Because if it's hindering me from growing, then I'm not going to find any forward momentum here, right? And so if you can come to the place and recognize, at this area or this thing that I've put my attention to is no longer serving me, and decide to remove it through the symbolic pruning, it could actually also accelerate your growth,
mhm,
right? And for me, I've had to go through seasons where it's like I've had to take a serious look at what I was putting my time, effort, and attention to, and realize that what I was used to, like what I knew that I was supposed to be doing in a previous season, all of a sudden I know that I no longer have the grace for it. It's not something that I should be continuing into my new season. And when I let those things go, all of a sudden, not only does my capacity increase, but also I find that the areas where I am investing in all of a sudden just start flourishing, just
mm.
start growing incredibly. And so, maybe those that are listening, maybe you're in a season like that right now where you are reflecting on your life. You're reflecting on the things that, you know, are taking your time, effort, and attention. And, if they're not serving you in this season, then it might be time for you to let those things go to make more room and capacity for you to flourish and for you to grow in this season. So, yeah, I just felt like I needed to share that. Does that
I've had
resonate with you,
seasons of
Connie?
yeah, I've had seasons of pruning that have been extremely helpful. And it's interesting because usually what follows is a time of like actually letting all those things go. Because, like I said, even in like during my Christmas, I went back to an old way. That was something that obviously I hadn't let go of. It was still
Right.
there. And so once you prune the branch, you also have to like burn them or get rid of them. You can't just hold on to them because that's not
Hmm.
healthy either.
Yeah. So, Connie, this is more of a personal question, and if I'm putting you on the spot and you don't answer, you don't have to. But what is one area in your life right now where you feel that maybe God's bringing you into a greater area of growth personally?
Hmm. Honestly, I think right now it's going to a deeper place in my relationship with God and a deeper place in my relationship with my husband. Um, both of those have been very heavy on my heart lately. And that's kind of my focus for this year is just really like reconnecting very deeply with both of them.
Hmm.
Um, because I I want to be at a place where all of my close relationships are healthy. And it starts with the people who are closest, and that would be God and my husband. And then outward from there. And so for like the first few months of this year, um, I'm focusing there. And if I feel ready to stretch out after that, then I will. But for right now, that's just really where I'm at. And so I'm like being more intentional and I'm um the time that I'm spending is more quality time than just quantity of time.
Hmm.
And I'm opening myself up in ways that are kind of scary, but good. Um, and I'm excited actually. I've seen how even the last week of me being extremely intentional has been amazing. So um, I'm really excited. And before I got sick, I was already seeing improvement in my marriage and improvement in my relationship with God. So I almost feel like instead of going backwards in that time, I almost feel like it was on hold, which is kind of a beautiful thing if you think about it. That you don't actually go
Mm,
backwards. It's just you pick up where you left off. And
mm,
yeah, I'm really excited.
awesome. Well, I'm
And
excited for you.
I guess if I was to say in a professional way, I think God's growing me in my ability to walk with people through their stuff because he's giving me new avenues of things to learn and to be able to help walk with some people. And so I think even in that, he's expanding me. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah, for me, in this season, I really feel like because I've for so many years I've been focused on my physical healing journey and that journey that God took me on.
Mm-hmm.
But the revelation that I had through that process was that little girl, that 5-year-old little girl in me who had to go into hiding, right? Like I've never like my whole life I've been just so serious and so focused and so driven. And I feel like in this next season, like God's really challenging me to let my more joyful, playful, happy, like life, excited about life part of me out, right? And just learn to enjoy life more instead of like endure it,
Yeah.
right? And which is why I think in this last season, he's really been challenging me in this area to find to be in the moment, to find joy in the moment, and to really embrace everything that I have in this season, right? Especially since
Mm-hmm.
my boys are growing up, because I'm not going to have these moments forever. And when I can do this, when I can just honestly be in the moment and enjoy just pure, authentic joy,
Mm-hmm.
uh, I just feel alive. Like I feel like, yes, my true self is coming. So I really feel like in this next season, God's just going to allow that side of me to just completely burst forth, which I'm excited about because, she's been hiding for a long time.
Yep.
She's been hiding for a long time, and it's time for her to come alive, be fully alive. And so I'm excited. Even though it comes with challenges, I am excited because the outcome is just joy and enjoyment and love and peace and contentment. And so there's little lessons to be learned along the way, which are stretching and hard and difficult, but the end picture, I can see it, and I'm super, super, super excited. So,
That's awesome.
yeah. Well, I'm glad that we talked about this, Connie, because I know for many people, especially some of the people I'm working with right now, it's like, even thinking about growth is a difficult concept, right? Because, they're in the middle of it. They're in the thick of it. They're in the trenches. They feel like they've been, trudging along for a long time and they don't understand what's happening. And so I think it's important that we recognize that there's seasons, but we also
Mm-hmm.
recognize that everything that we're doing, every effort we make towards growth, it is watering the seed and it is growing our roots deep. And we will see a harvest. We will see the growth. We will see, and if I would say the longer it takes for your seed to burst forth out of the ground, that will make your growth that much quicker and that much more exponential, right? Because
And the reason,
if you plant a seed and you let it like and you water it and whatnot, and you see growth within a couple weeks, right? That's no less important, but that plant takes longer to grow, is not as strong, like you got to baby it, right? But to think of the bamboo tree, yeah, it takes a lot longer to grow. But once it does grow, like they don't have to worry about that. That thing is strong. That thing is going to withstand any storm, right? And so I think if we can come with this perspective, if it's taken me 5 years of watering and tending to this seed that's been in the ground, when it flourish, like when it comes to grow, it's going to grow fast, but it's going to grow strong. And so I hope that encourages someone who's listening to this. And Connie, you were going to say something?
I was just gonna say, and all that time that you've been putting in, you're building a foundation. That's what the root system is, right? And the better
Right.
the foundation, the stronger it will be. Like Laura said, I think of the foundation of a house, right? If your foundation is weak, your house has could fall down. But if you have a very strong foundation, that house is going to stand strong no matter what the storm. And so it's really important to think about, well, this is building a foundation. This isn't
Mm-hmm.
nothing. It's
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I hope this has encouraged you, all of you listening, to see growth in a new way. That even if you're in a season of dormancy, if you feel like you're in a season where nothing's happening and you're putting so much time and effort into, pursuing goals or dreams or things that inspire you, don't give up. Continue on, move forward with patience and perseverance, have faith, and just keep doing the work, because I believe, and we've seen it over and over again in examples in nature and in life, that it will flourish, it will grow. And when it does, the longer it takes, like Connie said, the longer it takes, the stronger your foundation and the stronger your growth will be. So I pray this blesses you today. If you feel like you need any extra support, we'd love for you to reach out to us at nosafoundation.com. You can meet with one of our mentors. We can help journey with you as you walk through whatever struggles you're going through. And if you want to hear more about this topic of personal growth and how to accelerate your growth, feel free to check out our webinar from earlier this month on our YouTube channel, or also on our resources tab on our uh, website at nosafoundation.com. So thanks for joining us once again, and we'll see you next time on the NOSA Unleashed podcast. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in. Join us next time on the NOSA Unleashed podcast.